Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for attending to our new webinar, From Local to Global Cosmetic Compliance. This is Ima Gamero from Cosmetic Service, and I'm excited to have you here. As Safety Assessor, we help cosmetic brands to export their products safely while following global regulations. Today, we are going to talk about the key things to keep in mind when you're selling cosmetics internationally. Rules for ingredients, labels, and approvals can vary a lot from one country to another, and understanding them is essential for success. This webinar will have you practical tips to navigate regulations smoothly, avoid common mistakes, and grow your brand globally. Compliance isn't a requirement. It's not only a requirement, it's the key of success. So let's get started. Cosmetic Service is based in US, Canada, Europe, and UK, so we know what you need to know in order to exporting globally. First, we are going to talk about understanding the applicable legislation. Next, we are going to confirm your product is truly a cosmetic. Check your ingredients, ensure the safety evidence backs your formula, labeling clear and compliant, and finally, appoint a responsible person and proper notifier. Saying that, let's start with the key points. First, knowing the applicable legislation that is important to expanding into multiple markets. Each country has unique regulations, and failing to comply can lead to delays, fines, or even product bans. So let's make sure to avoid those risks. We are going to start with the big question that is, which legislation applies to my product? Depending on where you want to sell, your product could fall under multiple sets of regulations. For example, in the United States, the FDA have the new MOCRA implemented. In Canada, you will need to comply with Health Canada CNF. European Union, CPMP, European Commission, that are essential to know it. If you are targeting to China, the TFDA set the rules, while in Korea, for example, has their own body too, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. UK have the new Office for Product Safety and Standards, controlling the cosmetic products, and organizations like ASEAN, Mercosur. There are a lot. As you can see, understanding which regulation applies is complex, but need to be the beginning of the process. That's why compliance and regulatory strategy should be a core part of your product development and launch plan. The main markets that we are going to talk is going to be Europe, the regulation, the framework, the regulation 1223 of 2009. This is the most stringent in the world that covers everything from ingredients to safety tests and labeling. UK, post-Brexit, the regulation is so similar from the European Union, but you need to stay updated on specific changes that may arise. United States, that we have the new MOCRA, more restricted. And also, yes, Health Canada, that is the health authorities that control in Canada and also that have the hot lists for ingredients. This is so focused on ingredient safety in Canada. Okay, knowing that which are the regulations, let's move to the second key point, that is my product a cosmetic. Determining this from the start of development is essential. So what exactly defines a cosmetic product? Legally, a cosmetic product intending to clean, to beautify, to alter the appearance. In the EU and UK, we have a strong definition that is a substance or a mixture applied to the human body. Yes, to have this function. But in the US, they define it like it's an article or say that it's a product. So we have, since MOCRA a new cosmetic definition that says it is a cosmetic product defined as a preparation with a specific and consistent composition of cosmetic products. Because it could be confused, they want to emphasize that it applies to finished products and not to raw materials. However, depending on the regulations, some products fall into a gray area, such a lot of category of products. So depending on the market, can be classified a drug or can be classified a brand. So yes, we can here see sunscreen is classified as a cosmetic in Europe, while in the United States or Canada fall in an OTC. So this highlights we need to have the importance of understanding this legal definition in each market to not have a biocide or medical device that we can register as a cosmetic. Here we have new examples in US and Canada. Anti-acne product with salicylic acid, for example, is an OTC there, while in Europe, if the main function is to enhance the appearance, is a cosmetic product. Antiperspirants too is an OTC drug in US, but is remain a cosmetic in Europe and UK. Anti-dandruff shampoos, whitening toothpaste, skin protectants could be a drug or an OTC to their therapeutical claims defined as another category. Okay, we are going to move to the product category and say we are going to review the ingredient list. Ingredients need to be checked since the beginning, since R&D formulations, so some may be restricted or required, and we need to know it. Not all cosmetic ingredients are allowed worldwide, you know. What is allowed in one country may be banned in another. So in the EU and UK, you know that we have for more than 1,700 substances that are regulated, and also is similar in UK, but they are restricted for more ingredients in their annexes. USA, now they are starting to have more, but now they only have 9 substances, but they control a lot colorants and also federal regulations like the Proposition 65 and the hot lists in Canada control more than 500 substances. So yes, it's important to know it because this regulation is very demanding and is always changing. So what's about the last updates? Here you can see some of the EU and UK that could be very interesting: nanomaterials, microplastics, silicones. Here you can see also the retinol that was published last year, 2024, and is going to be applied now in November 2025. So it's important to be updated and control. Yes, in UK, yes, we have the same regulation from Europe, but they have different dates. And here in Canada, for example, we have the hot list that is updated every 6 months. So they are adding ingredients, modifying the restrictions, and so on. From February 2025, you can see here, for example, in the newly restricted substance, the retinol. USA, MOCRA chains will include evaluation for the ingredients, fragrance, allergens, and now they are focused in the GMP. Yes, in the near future, they are controlling more ingredients. All of these need to be updated, and the fragrance allergen is going to be a big topic. USA, they have federal regulations, yes, because when you are selling in US, you need to study in which federal position, because California has the Proposition 65 with specific warnings. Also, New York has restrictions on ingredients, and Washington has implemented the toxin-free cosmetic act. So it's important to know and control with an expert in this topic. Okay. Safety evidence before selling a cosmetic is safety must be confirmed. It's not after selling. Meets legal requirement, proper testing consumers, and builds trust in your brand is necessary in order to avoid any possible problems with customs and, of course, with consumers. Okay, all this safety evaluation is mandatory in all markets. Nowadays, no matter where you sell, proving your product is safe is always required, and it's needed to prove it. In Europe and UK, companies must have a product information file. In the US, now it's called safety substantiation, and in Canada, it's called safety evidence. But yes, all of this must be available for authorities if they will. Um, can the EU PIF and UK PIF be used for safety substantiation or for safety evidence? We get this question a lot. The EU PIF is a robust framework for safety substantiation, but sorry, no, because FDA have different and specific requirements. You need to meet with FDA points, that is the labeling rules that we are going to see, the FDA approved ingredients and colorants that are so important, and safety data need to be for some sources like CIR, PubMed, or ToxNet. So you need to add this information to the safety substantiation for FDA. Now we are going to talk briefly about the labeling. A lot of brands stress about staying compliant in every country. So we are going to do a recopilation of everything. Marketing claims. Starting with cosmetic claims, they are tightly regulated across the four markets, but with some difference. Here we can see in the EU and UK, claims must follow the EU claim regulation, requiring evidence, clarity, and no misleading statements. Okay, we have the regulation and we need to control it. In the US, MOCRA doesn't introduce any specific rule for claims, but yes, FDA and FTC monitor for these misleading claims, especially when they are blurred to drug territory. Yes, and in Canada, yes, we have a specific guideline that sets clear rules on what's acceptable or what. So in all ingredients must be truthful substantiation and we need solid documentation to justify everything. Mandatory labeling. Okay, in the EU and UK, you know that certain label elements are mandatory. As you know, here are the points of the Article 19. And for example, you must list the list of ingredients, the warning, the batch number. Yes, also the responsible person located in EU and UK. And it is very important the translation because there are 27 countries. So if you only have your labeling in English, you only cancel in the product that they have these official labels. So yes, we need to control where we are going to sell my product. USA. Here you can see labeling rules. Yes, the language is English, of course, and we have specified in principal display planner and information panel. Yes, and we can write the common names. It's not necessary to write inky names. Yes, and you need a determined letter size. For the near future, we need to control the allergen list. Yes, because it's going to be mandatory in the US, bringing it closer to the EU standards. For Canada, it's very similar from FDA, but please don't forget to include the dealer's information in the labeling. It's a legal requirement. It's similar that EU responsible person. So, can a cosmetic labeling for multiple markets? It is possible. Yes, you can create one label for different countries, but only if you plan very, very carefully. The product must be cosmetics in all markets. You can know the regulation. You need to follow the languages, the list of ingredients, show the amount of in the right units, also including the responsible person information for each market, the address or the contact information for all the markets. Here we are going to see an example. This labeling is in English and French and include the product's name, warnings, directions, contact info. Use both common names and inky names for ingredients, and also the translation in French for Canada. Here you can see water, aqua, or shows also the amount in both metric and US units, and meets the information as US responsible person, European responsible person, and Canadian dealer. Finally, we are going to see how to designate a responsible person and notify the product. Notifications. As you know, in the EU, cosmetic product must be notified in the CPMP portal before going to the market, and also in UK it's very similar. We have the CPMP portal, and both of them, the CPM portal, sorry, and it's a pre-sale notification. Now we can see the CNF that is not new for Canada, that is, we need the information about the responsible person here in this notification. And now in US, the product list, in Canada is 10 days after the first sale, and you need to add this Canadian address. And the product listing, that is a new requirement for MOCRA, and it's mandatory since 2024, July 2024. And we have 120 days after the first sales and need to be updated annually. Simple. Okay, MOCRA. MOCRA has introduced a new FDA requirements for cosmetics, including facility registration for manufacturers, product listing, the notification, safety substantiation, the report, and adverse events. And the responsible person must ensure compliance, and also the GMP practice are now essential for manufacturers, and the responsible person need to confirm it. We are going to see first the cosmetic facility registration that is required for all the companies that manufacture or process cosmetic products for the US markets. Every company. This obligation applies only to manufacturers, yes, and need to control with this information. Yes, each facility must be registered, list the products, and renew the registration every 2 years, or whenever if you have significant changes. If the manufacturer is located from outside US, they must also appoint a US agent to act as their point of contact in FDA. Yes, they need to be physically located in US and need to be available for FDA contact. Yes, Cosmetrade could be your US agent in this territory, for example. Okay, product listing is under new MOCA regulation 2, and cosmetic responsible person must know now list their products in FDA in the Cosmetic Direct portal. So this process includes submitting key information, like you can see here, the brand name, the product category, and a complete ingredient list. Also, you need to provide the facility registration number. So your manufacturer needs this information before. Product and its variant need to be listed and updated. And yes, this is also annual renewal. So it's important to be submitted correctly before or after the 120 days after the first sale. Okay, Who can be the responsible person? The concept of responsible person varies by region and is mandatory in most international markets. Understanding who can act as your responsible person and where they must be located is essential for compliance and market access. In the EU, UK, and Canada, the responsible person can be a manufacturer, an importer, and distributor, or a third party as long as they are designated by a written mandate and it is need to be based locally in that region, in Canada, UK, and EU. However, in the United States, the MOPRE regulation does not require a local responsible person. Instead, the obligation falls directly on the manufacturer, packer, or distributor. Only manufacturer, packer, or distributor can be the responsible person in US. Okay, this is the end. We are going to see the key points that you take away to keep in mind when navigating international cosmetic regulations. So, first, know your authorities and all the legislation. Each country has their own regulatory body. It's essential to stay up to date to any changes in cosmetic regulations. Second, be aware of registration and notification requirements that vary across regions, whether it's product listing in US, CNF in Canada, CPMP, and SCPN in EU and UK. Each portal has different timelines and expectations, so preparation is the key. And safety of the product. Ensure that your product is safe and control all the testing that you need and the times, the deadlines to maintaining the documentation that support your product safety. We are going to move in some practical aspects. First, the labeling. Work in the labeling as soon as you can. It must comply with the specific market guidelines. For example, covering everything for ingredient listing or the warnings, all these statements for sanctions, for example. Take care about the claims. Any promise your product makes must be truthful, well substantiated, and compliant with the market rules. And finally, don't overlook post-market control in order to avoid problems with customs. Be ready to respond to safety issues, consumer complaints, and possible recalls. Having a compliant expert like customer service can help you to manage this challenge effectively. In short, entering global markets successfully means combining regulatory knowledge and proactive planning. So if you can start at the first could be very, very important in order to plan it. So here, join to our newsletter if you want to keep up with global regulatory changes. Yes, our newsletter got you covered, so you can sign up. I stay informed. And you can check also our website, the information related to our services, our blog, in order to see the tests and more info news that you can follow in our blog of LinkedIn. And this is the end. Thank you for joining. We are more than happy to help you in this process. You can see navigating cosmetic regulation across different markets isn't easy, but what's exactly why we are here? Our team is specialized in making your products globally compliant. So if you don't want to have stress, saving your time or costly mistakes, uh, you can write here in our email if you are planning to expand or if you want to peace of mind. Let us be your trusted. You can see our mail here on the screen and feel free to contact us if you have any doubt or if you can contact us through our website or social media. We would be love to help you to take your path further with confidence. Please contact us to make it easier. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.